month I went on my very first Disney cruise, and whilst I was on that cruise I bought myself a placeholder. I have since used that placeholder to get myself a discounted price on a Bahamas cruise and also treat myself to a cheeky little upgrade. So, what is a placeholder? How much does it cost? How do you buy it? How do you use it? Stick around to find out. In the simplest possible terms, a placeholder is a voucher that you can use to get 10% off a future cruise booking, but it can only be bought on board a Disney cruise. Now, we all know that the marketing department at Disney are absolute magicians at getting us to part with our money, but in my opinion, the placeholder scheme it's that special piece of magic that just gets everyone queuing round the block with their credit cards begging to be sawn in half. They get you on your Disney cruise, they feed you all this wonderful food, they introduce you to Mickey Mouse, they give you a show, and then they take you to a restaurant where the walls come alive, and then they say, do you want to do it again? How's about you buy a placeholder? Now, to be clear, no humans actually mentioned a placeholder to me. Nobody gave me the hard sell, nobody nagged or pushed. It is on the homepage of the app every time you go on the Disney Cruise app, which you do a lot during a cruise, and they have literature in the room. There's also some information about it dotted around the ship, but just being there is enough to sell this concept that you are going to want to go on another Disney cruise in the future. Now, I had heard of placeholders before I went on board, and I had researched them a little, and I decided that if I enjoyed the cruise at all, I was going to buy one because I knew I would regret not buying one. And the reason really is to do with the terms which you get the placeholder on. It's very much a win-win situation between you and Disney. So what are the terms? Well, let's start with the price. The price is $250 US, and that secures you a 10% discount on any cruise that sails up to 24 months from the date of purchase. But, and this is the important thing, it is fully refundable during that time frame. So if you get to a year and a half, and you still haven't booked another cruise, you don't think you're gonna have a chance to use it, you can ring up Disney, get a full refund. If you get cold feet the week after you've bought it, you can ring up Disney and get a full refund. So there's really no financial risk. Also, when you book that cruise, the $250 will be taken off the deposit. So it's kind of prepaying your future cruise as well as securing the discount. So as I say, that makes it very low risk for you as a consumer, but it means that Disney has hooked you in for future bookings. Win-win. Now, I do need to point out that that 10% excludes port fees and taxes, which appear on every Disney cruise booking. So you calculate your 10% off the total of the booking minus the port fees and taxes. If you use a travel agent to book your cruise, you can just transfer that placeholder to your travel agent and they can use it on your behalf. You don't need to be booking independently for this to work. And the last thing you need to know is that there are blackout cruises that you can't use this on. I'm filming this in September 2021, and at the moment all the US cruises up to the end of 2021 are blacked out, but that is to do with COVID and the current passenger restrictions. That is not usual to have an entire season blacked out. I've done some research looking at previous years, and from what I can gather, in usual times, the only blackout cruises will be things like the Christmas cruises that go over Christmas week, New Year's cruises, and some special DVC members cruises. So most regular time of year open to the public cruises, you should be fine. Again, it's been a bit of a weird year, so I can't really use this year as an example, but check the terms before you book. Okay, you've convinced me. There's no financial risk. I love Disney cruising. I want to buy a placeholder. So how do I buy one? Right, first of all, it's there on your cruise app. There's a button that you can click book placeholder. I have to admit, when we were on the cruise, that button didn't seem to be working for me on my app. Every time I pressed it, it took me back to homepage. Press it, took me back to homepage. I don't know if that was my phone or my connection or just a technical glitch, but it just temporarily didn't seem to be working for me. But it was no issue because I could use the app to book an appointment at guest services. So I went down to guest services and I did it face to face. I actually preferred that because I got to ask those last 2 or 3 questions that were niggling me. All I needed to do for that was fill out my personal details, cabin number, contact details, etc. I also filled it out for the other 2 people in our family, my husband and daughter, so that they would be on the booking as well. But I did not pay any money at that point. This was kind of a promise to pay. When I got home, 2 days later, I got a phone call from Disney to complete the purchase. And it was at that point that I paid via credit card over the phone. I actually missed the first phone call, so I called them back and I got through to a different agent. And at the time, the US cruises hadn't started again. It was only the 3rd cruise to go out of the UK. So it was like the 3rd cruise that Disney Cruise Line had done in, I think it was like 14, 15 months. And I rung up and said, I've just bought a placeholder. And then there was silence on the other end of the phone. And she was like, okay, they can only be bought on cruises. And I was like, yes, I've just been on a cruise. And in the last year, this agent hadn't spoken to anyone who had actually returned from a cruise. She said she'd spent her whole year dealing with cancellations and rebooking and refund. And she was so excited and enthusiastic to speak to someone who'd just been on a cruise and just bought a placeholder. It was a lovely conversation, as they often are when you ring up Disney. Anyway, anecdotes aside, when you pay for your placeholder, you get given a booking number. And this is just like if you actually booked a cruise or a trip, you get a booking number. The difference is there's no cruise or trip attached to it. It's just a booking number with an amount that you've paid and a future discount promise. So then, all that's left to do is to spend it. We already knew that for our May 2022 trip, we only had enough DVC points for 11 nights at Walt Disney World. If you want to know more about DVC points and being a DVC member, check out the playlist up there. And we were trying to decide between 3 nights at Universal or a 3-night Disney cruise. We had pretty much already discounted the cruise because of the difference in price. But once we got the possibility of a placeholder, I went back and had a second look.
And I saw that if we took the cruise at the beginning of the fortnight instead of the end of the fortnight, it's already £400 cheaper. If I then applied the 10%, excluding fees and taxes, it then became even cheaper. And when I looked at it,
we'd managed to get it cheaper than the inside stateroom that we had on this cruise. So we had a look at the Ocean View staterooms, and I was delighted to see that Ocean View staterooms with a GTY status, that means you're guaranteed at least an ocean view, but you might get upgraded to a veranda, were actually cheaper than the inside staterooms that we'd had on this cruise. So we got a little upgrade. We got to book the cruise. It worked out to be cheaper than we'd priced up Universal, and we were happy. So I couldn't use the placeholder on my booking online, so I called up Disney, gave them my booking reference number, they pulled up the details and they were able to calculate and process it all over the phone. The $250 was deducted from the deposit, so I had a very low deposit, and then the rest of it remains balance to be paid 60 to 90 days before. It could not have been easier. I'd love to sort of tell you the downsides, other than being very careful that you know when your 24-month period is, and being very careful that when you're calculating your own discount, you take into consideration that fees and taxes aren't included. I really can't see a downside, because even if you don't use it, you can just get the refund. Now, if you can think of a downside, if you've bought one and regretted it, then let me know in the comments, because I'm sure everyone else needs that information. But for me, it's been easy from start to finish, and it means I now have one more element of my May trip booked that I can look forward to. So, thank you for joining me to talk about placeholders. I upload Disney videos regularly. I'm currently editing the vlogs from our last Disneyland Paris trip. So if you're interested in those, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. We also have our live Disneyland Paris show every Sunday night at 8:30. So join us for that. See you later. Bye!